Hello and welcome to Convict Inc. I'm your host, Robert Rosso. If you have not subscribed to this channel, please do so. If you like this video, please push like and share it with your family, neighbors, friends, enemies, etc. Checking in. I've talked about checking in before. Requesting protective custody, basically. People check in for a variety of reasons. People will come to prison as a sex offender and they will refuse the compound. People, as I mentioned, like Ali Persico, will not or refuse a compound as a way to beat the system. He wanted to be on the East Coast, so he'll refuse the compound. When you refuse the compound, you get disciplinaries, and that's ultimately called checking in. People will check in because they owe money if they're on the compound. If they're scared they're going to get hurt, if they think they're going to be assaulted, they'll go up to a staff member and check in. That is request protective custody. Bunch of different ways to check in. People will also get a dirty urine, go to the hole, and then just stay in the hole and say, I refuse the yard. That's a check-in move. People will do what I call the honorable check-in. It's kind of a joke. That is, they will go assault somebody if they owe a bunch of money. That way it doesn't look like they're catching PC, but really they're trying to get off the yard. So they'll go assault somebody for whatever reason. I've had many people or brothers that were in financial debt and they volunteered to go do an assault, whatever. I mean, it happens. So there have been times in my life when I was on a drug run, especially after Leavenworth. In Lewisburg, I stopped for some years, and when I was tired, and I just wished, I had said to friends, man, I just want to check in and dry out. That was, and people said it to me, man, I just want to go cool off in the shoe for a while. Now, I should say here that I've mentioned in many videos before that the shoe in Leavenworth was full of drugs. It was, there was periods when it wasn't, but it basically was. I'm pretty much talking about Lewisburg and other places when I say this, because Lewisburg, you go to the whole, there was wine a couple times, but as far as drugs and just flooded, it wasn't like that. So if we said to each other, man, I just want to check in or go to the hole for a while just to get dried out. Sometimes guys are feeling bad if they've hustled a lot, they're tired of hustling, they owe money, they've just done too many drugs, or you burn your family out by having them send money to other people and they're getting tired and you're tired and you feel like a piece of shit. Oh, there's all kinds of different things. I've actually done the family thing, that's why I just said that. So there's guys that have talked about it, and it's in talking. So it's not like people haven't said, man, I just want to go to the hole for a while and just get my head right because I'm just out here and running amok and it's a mess. I have never done such a thing. I had never known people to do such a thing. I have known many guys that have owed a lot of money, checked in, got their money right, and checked back out. That would depend on the prison that you're in. If you're in a USP, it's not likely that you can do that, or the maximum security federal prisons. If you're in an FCI, more likely. Terre Haute, it was almost common that people did that. And guys that were owed the money, wanted these guys to come back out. Now, when somebody does that, let's say they go to the hole because they owe money, and then they come back out, there's still a check-in. That is still a black mark on their prison resume. If they go to a different yard, or if the yard changes and it becomes more violent, more political, then they can always look back and say, hey, that person's a check-in. I said this about Alley Boy again. At any given time, somebody can look at him and say, that dude checked in such and such years ago. Even if he really didn't request PC, he was only staying in the shoe because he wanted to get transferred to a place closer to the East Coast. It's still a check-in. In 2015, I met a guy that I'll just call Mendez. Mendez was Hispanic. He was more than 10 years older than me, and he was actually part of a cartel. Yeah, I mean, he was. That's documented paperwork. He had 30-year sentence for drugs, and he was what you would call a tecato. That's a heroin addict. He liked getting high. I met Mendez through one of my guys, Billy, who was selling him Suboxone. We didn't have a using relationship in the beginning. That is me and Mendez. He lived in G block, which was the honor block or old man's dorm. And I lived in C block, or maybe even E block, because we temporarily shut down C block and I went to E block for about 6 months. This is at FCI Terre Haute. Eventually, me and Mendez met up probably like in the end of 15 or beginning of 16. And there were times when I did Suboxone when I was in prison. We got high together. We did Suboxone together. He had family that was supporting him. I had family support. He had a lot more money coming in than I did. But we were kind of running buddies for a minute. That means we got high together, you know. But more than that, we became cool. We hung out. It's not like out of the block. We didn't really hang out and walk the track or nothing like that. I like to walk the track alone. But it wasn't like that. But in the block, we sure did, you know, talk, hang out, drink coffee sometimes, whatever. In, what year was this? Before COVID, so let's say 2019. Mendez was strung out. He had money coming in from different kids that were financially well off, some other people. But people get tired. So if you're constantly calling your family for money, $500 this day, $700 a week later, you know, if you're running over $1,000 a month, especially, I don't care how rich they are, how much money they have, people get tired of it, especially when you're sending money to other people's addresses, and it's more than likely that these people are involved in the sale of contraband at minimum, illegal drugs at worst. So the way that works is I call up, well, it depends on the prison. It depends how relaxed the staff is at the prison. There's times I called up and said, for example, hey mom, Joe Smith, registration number 00055, write this down. And then she'd go like, okay. She knew what it was about. And I'd go, okay. And then the next phone call, I'd say, yeah, send 500. I would never say send 500. Well, I have. Send 500 to Joe Smith, da 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 da. It wasn't like that. Or you go on the computer and you write down a person's name and say, hey, send Joseph Smith and this number a pen pal. Then I would call up and say, hey, send $500 to Joseph Smith's account, or send money to Rodriguez Gomez Sanchez in Mexico and Western Union, whatever. So you can Western Union, they can mail it in the mail, they can money order it, whatever. Green Dot became very popular. Western Union was the easy go-to, for real. People in the prison started coming up to me because they knew me and Mendez were friends, even though he was considered a paisa. He actually was a Mexican-American, but he ran paisas, guys from Mexico. He actually ran with the paisas for whatever reason. But it wasn't the paisas that people went to when he owed money. It was me, because they knew we were around each other quite a bit. So Mendez had a good job. He made money at the job. He made money hustling, but he was getting, you know, doing pieces of Suboxone every day. And what I mean by pieces, I'm talking about 64s. People said that was a lie. Anywhere from a 64th in the morning, 32nd, whatever on the compound. If there were strips that were going for cheap, he'd get a strip, and he'd do a strip in a couple of days. If there was very little, he'd get a 64th twice a day, and there might be 10 books for a 64th. Again, a strip of Suboxone can be cut into 64 pieces. Normally it was 8 pieces, then it was 16 pieces, then it was 30 seconds. It depended on how much Suboxone was on the compound. So I don't know how much there was at this time. I wasn't using with Mendez at this time. One day, it was in the morning. I think it was probably a commissary day. It's when a lot of people will go to the lieutenant's office and check in when they owe money. They're supposed to go get commissary for somebody. They can't for whatever reason, and they just go to the hole and disappear. One day, somebody saw the officer go to Mendez's cell. He lived in a single cell, locked the door. And that's usually a sign of somebody that's going to the shoe or checked in or whatever. Next thing you know, somebody says, hey, Rob, there goes Mendez, there goes Mendez. And I run to the door and I look at him, and I was now in M unit. The door to the shoe is really close where they go out. It's actually to the gym, and then they go outside to the shoe. And I go, Mendez, what's up? And he just goes, put his head down, checked in. Now, this is a guy that had been in prison on and off quite a bit in his life. And I was very, very surprised by this. I never, ever saw this coming. Again, he's Mexican, I'm white. But people associated the two of us together because we talked quite a bit. And there was like a sense of betrayal is what I felt a little bit. It was the weirdest feeling. It was because, again, I didn't know nothing we didn't owe any money together, but because people associated with me, it was like, oh man. And it was just a really, really big blow. And I got really angry, to be honest. And sure enough, throughout the day, and the people came home from work, they were like, what's up with your boy? Why did you check in? You knew. And then it was like, you knew he was going to check in. People started saying, Rob, you knew he was going to go to the hole. That's totally not true. I wish he even would have said something. Maybe, I wouldn't have like talked him out of it probably. It just would have been, it was, like I said, it was such a shock to me. It was so weird. Few days, I was down for a few days about it. I don't know why, just was, it's the truth. There were people that sent me messages from his family that wanted me to go talk to guys that he owed money. I know who he owed money to. I knew the players he owed money to for sure. And they wanted me to say, listen, we're sending that money, go get, blah, blah, blah. So I did play that liaison, if you will, and go tell these guys, look, that money's going to be sent. And sure enough, Mendez was in the hole, checked in, and money started to be sent. And he owed quite a bit, maybe closer to $3,000 at that time. Everybody got their money, or maybe one or two of his closest guys, but the guys that he knew wouldn't insult him. Some of the guys would have probably done something to him, put hands on him. Again, he was a Pisces, so I don't know how that would have worked out because it would have got the Pisces involved. I'm not really sure. The politics at FCI Terre Haute at that time, they were come and go. Sometimes they would get, sometimes nobody cared. Then other times you get people that did care. So it was just, it was an ever-changing political environment, and it went from like, oh, we're all solid convicts to nobody cares and everybody's a rat. It fluctuated. That's the truth. There was guys that can be inactive gang members one day, active the next. That was a weird situation that I'd never seen before. Well, I was at Butner FCI 1, which was an inactive yard, you can say, but this was a medical yard, administrative. I've said this before. Even though I know what an administrative yard is, there's a lot of guys there that are being hidden out for protected custody reasons, but these aren't the guys that come out and say, yeah, I dropped out of a game. Yeah, I checked it. Yeah, I'm a sex offender. But there's a lot of guys that were. So this was like the undercover yard for a lot of people that were hiding out. There were some police officers that were hiding up in some blocks. Anyway, again, the political environment, the politics of FCI Terre Haute when I was there from 2012 to 2021 shifted many times. So go back to Mendez. People got their money. He got paid. And then one day, I was close to the front door, going somewhere maybe, and Mendez, door pops open, the gym door, boom, out walks Mendez, got his shoe attire on, that's like a white t-shirt and orange pants, I think it was. And I just look at him, and he opens the door and goes, I'm back, and he's all happy. And I said, get the fuck away from me. Everybody was running up to him, greeting him, hugging him, giving him a pat on the shoulder. There was a guy a black dude I know well, I'm not gonna say what gang he was in. Let's just call him T. I don't even wanna say his nickname. T, he liked Mendez a lot, and I'd been with him for years, since 2012. He was one of the first, there was about 5 or 6 of us in 2019 that had been together in the same blocks since 2012, and there goes the fan. And I don't have Marta to yell for. Anyway, T came and talked to me. He's like, man, that was your dude, Rob. You can't just dismiss him. How are you gonna fight? I said, I'm not talking to him no more. I don't give a fuck. I'm not talking to him. Fuck that dude. Fuck, I don't care what everybody else thinks. It's a pride thing. And honestly, I don't really know why. So yes, I was the white rep in the unit, but what that meant at that time, it doesn't really matter. And other guys that I know, friends, did talk to him. That was a place that people did check in and check out, and they didn't have any problems, but I had a problem. He came up to me one more time and he's like, Rob, you gonna fuck with me? And I said, no, I'm not. He's like, all right, and we never talked again. And within a month, he was transferred to a low. I was in medium security. He was transferred to a low, closer to his family or something, whatever. And I didn't talk to him. I wanted to a few times. I don't, foolish pride, whatever the deal was. I had my, I want to say I had my principles, but those shifted at times too. I'm not gonna lie. I was a different person. The first 10 years, things didn't shift for me too much. Maybe I did, like I said, the worst thing I did in those first 10 years was I told SIS not to let somebody out of the hole, which is a no-no. Did scumbag moves, sure, but as far as being a convict or an inmate, like things shifted in me a lot because I wasn't the person I was in the first 10 years. There was a growth period within myself between 2007 and 2011. It happened when I got sober for those years, but there was some evolving in my thinking, and I really didn't give a fuck about the prison stuff a lot of the times. But then there was times that I did. Maybe it depended on the shifting of the politics in the prison. I don't know. I'm trying to figure that out as I talk about it. Now, I never talked to Mendez again. And then I got out on compassionate release. I'm able to reach out or into people that on probation or that are in prison because of journal reasons and legal assistance. The probation department has let me. It's an agreement we worked out, okay? So I've reached out to people, and then I thought one day about Mendez. Now, did a Google search, and there was a bunch, of course, that is his last name, but there's a bunch of different ones, and found out where he was. I was going to send him, a letter about some legal stuff, and I ended up communicating with him again. I didn't. All that stuff about him checking in, or all that prison shit died away. Matter of fact, there are guys that checked in. One of my old cellies that I like checked in. Left me hanging with a lot of stuff. I talk to him to this day. So I don't care about all that. Like I said, I don't care about a lot of stuff. Doesn't matter. We corresponded for a second, and then I found out that it appears that he had a sex offense, and a serious one, in California many, many years ago. And that's another thing that just floored me. I confronted him about it. He denied it, and then he deleted me. So I don't know if that's the case. It appears that he is that same person. My wife will tell you right now that it is him. That kind of even out here messed me up. It was he lured a kid into a car and molested her or something. A bad one, like snatching tree jumping stuff. It was a bad one. I don't know how much he did to her, but it was a bad crime. I didn't want to believe it at first. Again, my wife would say, that's him for sure, this is why, blah, blah, blah. I'm still not convinced 100%. But nevertheless, I did confront him about it, and really short time later, he deleted me. So, this story wasn't really about that. It was just about how things happen in prison. Guys can check in for various reasons. And this was somebody that was close to me. It's not the first person that was close to me to do it. It was one that checked in and came back out that was close to me. Now, I have talked to guys that checked in and checked out. I used to say, like, what was it, the Howard Johnsons, you can leave the line on, you can check in, you can check out. Check in, you can check out. I used to make jokes about it. And I did. If guys went to the hole and came back, there was guys that I talked to. Everybody, in the prison did. Very few got run back up or beat up. Some, depend on the politics, depend on what car they were in, or if maybe even somebody was hot in the unit and wanted to prove that they weren't, or claim they weren't hot, so they go beat the guy that just checked back out. Just crazy prison shit. So glad. Hey, I'm so glad I'm out of that crap. So glad. Nobody should go to prison. It sucks. Yeah. But that's the story about the check-in who was close to me who checked out.